10 years ago today, I was in the same predicament with her brother. Exactly 10 years ago there. Here I am again. What are the odds that I lose two in one lifetime? Whoever did this is a real cop.
Definitely.
In real life.
Definitely.
My daughter only this big. You didn't have to do that to her.
He's gonna be caught. He's probably gonna watch this. We're coming for you.
He might be out here.
We're coming for you. Your justice will be served.
On August 12, 2022, a young man approached a suspicious-looking vehicle. This 2017 Dodge Journey seemed abandoned with something strange in the back seat. But as he peered into the window, he never expected to look into the dead eyes of his sister in the back seat. With screams of terror and panicked dials, the medics and police were called, and they rushed to their home in the 19,300 block of Stahalin Avenue near Vassar Drive. The scene was too much for anyone to stomach, especially for the family of the victim. She was Zambricia Works, a 22-year-old woman with big ambitions and a bright future. That day on Detroit's west side turned into a nightmare that would leave a community reeling and questioning how anyone could snatch such light so suddenly. To answer this question, the detectives launched into an investigation that would reveal one prime suspect in her death, and his motive? He had learned a secret he desperately wanted to hide, but soon Zambricia and her family became a threat he had to deal with. This is the life and death of Zambricia Works.
Bruh. Let me get my views up on this. Let me invite some people. Huh? Who on here? Bro, everybody that get on here, stay on here. Cause y'all about to get a good ass story going on. Y'all about to see a good ass story. Oh shit, my phone going out. Alright, look.
This heartbreaking case occurred in Detroit, Michigan, United States. This is a city of deep history and cultural influence, often called the Motor City for its role in the automotive industry. The people here are known for their resilience, pride, and strong community ties, with a growing number of artists, entrepreneurs, and young professionals. In 2022, while some violent crimes decreased, the city still battled high rates of shootings, homicides, and property crimes. This was the terrible statistic that Zambricia Works was caught up in. Born in 1999, Zambricia Works, known to friends and colleagues as Breezy, was a radiant presence at just 22 years old. A daughter of Detroit, she was an epitome of both urban struggle and limitless hope. Despite growing up amid financial challenges in a city grappling with gun violence, she had refused to be defined by her environment. Instead, she transformed adversity into fuel for her missions, caring for others, learning relentlessly and envisioning a path forward not just for herself, but for her city.
Zambricia was an exceptional participant in their program. She's an exceptional young lady, beautiful young lady, smart, dedicated, on her way up the ladder.
She just touched us, her spirit, her energy, her love for the citizens of Detroit.
Zambricia's family remembers her as dependable and kind, an avid supporter at every event. She made it her mission to show up.
She made them better people, which we all should be doing.
She has such a big heart. She don't miss nobody events. She's there for everything. She got multiple careers.
This trait was already taking her places. It led Zambricia to participate in and complete the Detroit Fire Department's Junior Cadet Program. That achievement didn't come from ease. It came from hard work, discipline, and heart, and she was just getting started. Zambricia became an intern in municipal youth development. She completely embodied the spirit behind the Grow Detroit's Young Talent program. She poured compassion and energy into helping others see beyond their current circumstances. Their stories became hers, and she treated each person with dignity. Always ambitious, she balanced firefighting dreams with aspirations of becoming a doctor. She was so serious about this that the pipeline for her future was already being built. She had completed summer programs, served as an intern, and worked tirelessly to uplift those grappling with addiction and homelessness. She wasn't just a student, she was a changemaker. No record shows a husband or children in her life, only a steady focus on family, community, and purpose. With the empathy to ease pain and the drive to build a better world, she stood apart, Detroit's bright young star. But that light was extinguished in the early hours of August 12, 2022. It all began with a confrontation. On August 11th, Breezy crossed paths with 46-year-old Gregory Reynolds Jr., an acquaintance, but one whose presence would soon mark the brutal end of her life. What prompted them to meet remains unclear, but the investigation revealed they engaged in a heated argument. There was a back and forth, and nobody was backing down. Though the cause of their disagreement is unknown, it is clear that Zambrescia, who held a bat for defense, did not feel safe. And the end result was chilling. As the people of Detroit slept, Gregory allegedly drew a handgun and unleashed several bullets that found their mark in Zambrescia's head. Immediately after, Gregory locked her body in a 2017 Dodge Journey SUV and fled, leaving the car abandoned on Stahilan Avenue near Vassar Drive, just off 8 Mile Road, until it was discovered by her own blood. Zambrescia's body was left there overnight while Gregory made his escape. It was not until the next morning that her body was discovered by her brother. His scream and distress marked a trauma that he would never forget, even as medics arrived to try to save her. But it was far too late. Zambrescia Works was pronounced dead at the scene. Initially suspected to have been beaten due to the bat on the scene, the medical examiner ultimately determined Breezy had been shot multiple times. She died in the back seat of a black 2017 Dodge Journey SUV, where any neighbor could bump into it. Neighbors said they woke to flashing lights and intensive police activity. What should have been a quiet morning became a scene of trauma and fear. The city had lost one of its brightest, and the fallout would echo for miles. The community ached with the loss of such a bright star and pressed the police for answers on who was cruel enough to commit this act. Detectives quickly launched an in-depth investigation, determined to get to the bottom of this. So, they started with the basics. Whose car was it? Soon after, police identified the black SUV as being hers. Inside it, investigators discovered forensic clues, spent casings, ballistic residue, and other evidence tied to gun violence. The organization she served and trained with was stunned. The fire department that had invested in her potential was now mourning its brightest spark. Pressure was mounting on the cops to answer the burning questions. Who was responsible for this? And soon, new evidence unveiled a suspect's mask. By midday, authorities had connected the argument to Reynolds, placing him as the prime suspect through surveillance footage and testimonies. But for Zambrescia's family, the raw pain ran deeper than anyone knew at first. Her mother recalled losing another child to gun violence exactly 10 years earlier. Now, that pain had returned in the most brutal fashion.
I feel like I couldn't keep my kids here long enough to see where they goes, and it makes you feel bad as a mother.
She was breaking down at the thought of being a mother who could not keep her kids alive. Guns had taken yet another child, but she was not the only outraged one. In a city already strained under economic hardship and violence, the discovery of Zambrescia's death amplified grief and outrage. A young woman dedicated to healing had become the victim of senseless destruction. Police were determined to make her killer pay, so they started to dig deeper. Detroit detectives worked methodically, canvassing neighborhoods, reviewing camera footage, and questioning anyone who had seen Zambrescia with Gregory. Each scrap of evidence, each recollection of those late-night moments became part of a chilling mosaic. Witnesses recalled hearing or seeing Reynolds and Zambrescia together earlier that day. Some described a loud altercation, but the question remained, why? Soon, the answer came from an unexpected source. One particularly crucial witness would later come forward to relay a chilling statement allegedly made by Reynolds. The witness testified that Gregory had said he had to finish it off because Zambrescia was going to call her people on him. No one knows what he was so desperate to hide, but one thing is clear: he was hell-bent on keeping Zambrescia from telling her family, and to him, killing her was worth his secret. But this evidence changed everything. This immediately proved that the murder was premeditated, and Gregory could not claim to have been provoked or not thought it out. Investigators treated this as a vital piece of evidence, one that would later help support a charge of premeditated murder. The timeline quickly started coming into focus. Authorities determined that the argument and shooting had occurred on August 11th, the night before Zambricia's body was found. She had been killed during that confrontation, her body then left in the vehicle before it was abandoned near Stuylen and Vassar. Police identified Gregory Bernard Reynolds Jr. as a suspect through a combination of witness statements, surveillance footage, and digital forensics. As they traveled deeper into Reynolds' past, his criminal history showed he was capable of murder and more. He was no stranger to being on the wrong side of the law. Gregory is a 46-year-old Detroit resident with a violent criminal history spanning decades. His record included an assault with intent to murder conviction from the 1990s and more recent probation for drug-related offenses. Despite this lengthy past, he had remained in the community, a known presence with a reputation for volatility. But it was time to get this danger off the streets, and detectives moved quickly. On August 20th, 2022, just over a week after Zambricia's body was found, Gregory was taken into custody. His arrest marked a significant step in the case, a moment of action that gave Zambricia's family and the wider Detroit community their first glimpse of accountability. Authorities wasted no time in formalizing the charges. Gregory was charged with first-degree murder, felon in possession of a firearm, and 2 counts of felony firearm violations. The severity of the charges reflected both the violence of the crime and Reynolds' criminal background. When Reynolds was arraigned on August 23rd, the court ordered that he be held without bond. Prosecutors cited the gravity of the offense, the suspect's past convictions, and the alleged statements he had made to witnesses. The judge agreed. With Gregory remanded to the Wayne County Jail, the legal process began moving forward. A probable cause conference was scheduled for September 8th via Zoom, followed by a preliminary examination set for September 15th. Prosecutors would use these hearings to present early evidence, solidify their case, and begin preparing for a possible trial. While his arrest brought a measure of relief, it did not erase the pain of what had been lost. For Zambricia's loved ones, justice had only just begun its slow course, and many questions remained unanswered. As the investigation progressed, prosecutors prepared to present a strong case against Gregory, and things were already not looking good for him in any way. In January 2023, a judge emphasized the brutality of the crime, noting that Zambricia had been shot multiple times in the head. The judge pointed out that this was clearly a deliberate act, not a split-second reaction, one that Gregory would be tried for. Gregory is to stand trial on first-degree murder charges, facing a possible life sentence in Michigan. He also remains charged with being a felon in possession and 2 counts of felony firearm, reflecting his long history with violence and weapons offenses.
Zambricia Works was 22 years old when she was shot and killed on Detroit's west side.
Today, the man charged with killing her went before a judge, and he did not hold back.
That he fired not 1, not 2, not 3, 4 or 5 times to the head of an unarmed woman.
36 District Court Judge Kenneth King sending an angry message in court to a 46-year-old man named Gregory Reynolds, charged with the brutal murder of a 22-year-old Detroit Fire Department intern named Zambricia Works. It happened last August, the judge saying he has had it with horrific violent crime and those responsible have no place in this city.
If these allegations are true, this is exactly the kind of element that we need to rid our city of.
The case then moved forward in the Wayne County Court, where Gregory finally spoke. Despite the clamor from the community and the mountain of evidence stacked against him, when Gregory was asked how he would plead, he entered a not guilty plea during arraignment. Upcoming court dates were set: a probable cause hearing, followed by a preliminary exam scheduled for mid-September.
The officers began their homicide investigation, and through technology and witnesses, they were able to identify the offender. And on Sunday, just this past Sunday, August 21st, we took him into custody.
And then came the afternoon when families and friends gathered on the streets of Detroit to mourn the life lost far too soon. Candles flickered and tears flowed for Zambricia, known to her loved ones as Breezy. Her mother's grief was still raw, and her words captured the depth of her loss. Not once, but twice, she had lost a child to gun violence. Neighbors set up impromptu memorials at the crime scene near Stahelin and Vassar, leaving flowers, balloons, and handwritten notes, small symbols of remembrance, but profound testaments to Zambricia's impact on everyone who knew her. The grief spread even into the authorities. The Detroit Fire Department mourned the loss of one of its own. Zambricia had been a standout cadet. Just the day before the tragedy, she had completed the department's summer academy. Chief Harris described her as a rising star, a young woman filled with promise and ready to give everything to help her city. In the weeks that followed, department leaders announced the creation of an award in her name, a lasting tribute intended to inspire future cadets and honor her passion for community service. In solidarity, friends and participants in the Grow Detroit's Young Talent and No Barrier to Success programs encouraged others to speak out, to invest in Detroit's youth, and to prevent more stories like Zambricia's. Her death brought national attention to ongoing issues of gun violence and the vulnerability of compassionate young leaders trying to build better futures amid turbulence. In the courtroom, prosecutors are assembling medical examiner reports, surveillance evidence, and testimony from witnesses who saw the argument that escalated into fatal violence. Defense attorneys are expected to challenge the narrative, but the prosecution's argument rests on the severity of the wounds, the prior altercation, and Reynolds' own admission that he believed he had to finish it off. No matter the outcome, the trial is set to test whether someone who once helped others can ever truly be held accountable for bringing such devastation. In a city that has known too much loss, her legacy now fuels renewed resolve. From family members lifting up her advocacy for the homeless and addicted, to educators and mentors who believe in shaping peaceful futures for Detroit's youth, Zambricia's funeral, held near what would have been her 23rd birthday, was a powerful celebration of life. Family and fire department colleagues wore blue and gold ribbons, her favorite colors, releasing heartfelt messages into the sky. Songs she loved echoed through the hall, blending sorrow and hope as speakers invited everyone to live in her spirit of service and dedication. But amid the grief came questions with no easy answers. How could a single, heated exchange end a young woman's budding future? How can Detroit protect its bright minds? What was the secret that Gregory Reynolds was ready to kill and sacrifice his freedom for? Zambricia Works was more than a victim. Let her memory inspire us to protect one another, uplift the vulnerable, and ensure that no one remains silent amid rising violence. May Zambricia's legacy transform grief into change, pain into purpose, and loss into a collective promise. Young lives will matter, today and always.